Hey everybody, JC here from JediInsider.com, and I'm here live at Hascon with the folks from the Star Wars brand team.
I am the senior principal designer on the team. Worked on Star Wars for 40 years. I've been very fortunate to work on a lot of the product over the years, but recently mostly the vehicle guy. So I really like that a lot. You know, making hardware for our figures to fly around in, to drive around in, it's an important task.
It is.
You know, and I'm glad I get the opportunity to do it.
I am the design director for Star Wars. I've been doing this on Star Wars for 4 years. I'm going to catch up one day. My job is really to kind of support the team. We have an incredible creative team on Star Wars, and my job is really a support team. Imagine a conductor. I kind of like say, hey, let's play this song, but I don't play any instruments. These guys do an incredible job with designing and sculpting and making the toys come to life, so I just help them out wherever I can.
Awesome. So my first question I want to ask you, because I know you've worked on the Star Wars brand for 40 years, first with Kenner, right?
Yes.
And then with Hasbro.
Yes.
So what is it like to work on one brand for so many years?
Well, it's a privilege. And I started when I was 22 years old, and you can do the quick math, you know, but it's been awesome. I've had the opportunity to work on many other boys' toys lines in Hasbro, but whenever I had the opportunity to come back to Star Wars, that's my first love.
Out of all the years, whether it's Kenner or Hasbro, do you have a favorite vehicle or figure that you worked on?
Well, I'm proud of the fact that I've been able to work on all the big 3 3/4 inch Millennium Falcons, you know, from the start until now. And so that's really awesome. But I think what I'm most proud of is actually the mini rigs that we did back in the 80s.
In the Kenner days? Yeah.
Where we were able to develop what we call off-camera.
The steamroller.
Yes.
That was one of my favorites as a kid.
So to be able to actually put some thoughts together that actually would be in Star Wars product, may not actually be on the screen, but it was still in Star Wars official Kenner product and packaging. And so for me, to be able to have that small element of myself be applied to Star Wars was really awesome. I mean, this whole experience for me has been a once in a lifetime adventure. I've been doing this for over 2/3 of my life. And that's pretty special.
Awesome. Now you've only been 4 years, but do you have a favorite vehicle?
How do I mean that? Well, I have a personal favorite vehicle, which I'm sure Mark had a little hand in, and that's the AT-AT. You know, that kind of blew my mind as a kid because it was so big and I could control the head, and I had the reticulating guns. And it just kind of got me into Star Wars and loving Star Wars, and really kind of drove me through college to get back into Star Wars and collecting and buying and selling, and then Hasbro. I got Hasbro in my sights in '99 when the prequels came out, and I said, I'm going to work for this company. I'm going to somehow be involved with Star Wars. I don't know how, but I'm going to do it. And I finally got the team, and I sat down with this young gentleman, and we spoke about the Force Awakens Millennium Falcon. I had to pinch myself. I was like, I'm actually sitting down with the man who helped design, led the original Falcon and AT-AT, and now we're talking about the new one. I was like, oh my God, this is just incredible.
So I guess you worked on all the AT-ATs, including the cardboard one, or?
Well, we all have worked, the whole team, yes, you might imagine. We've had a huge team over the years that worked on Star Wars. It was really great that I got to work on the Rogue One, the AT-ACT, because that was special, because for the first time we were going to be able to actually have a walker that walked.
Yeah,
and we thought that was really important. You know, we've done some great iterations of the vehicle prior to that, varying size, varying feature, but they just never had been a chance to walk. So to have the opportunity to be a part of the team, to work with our mechanical engineers, our electrical engineers, and our app developers, to be able to develop an AT-AT that actually walked, to kind of scale speed to our 3 3/4 inch figures, that was pretty special. You know, it's something that we've been wanting to do for a long, long time. and actually had the opportunity to do it.
Now, speaking of vehicles, you guys are getting ready to debut a brand new vehicle, and one that's really kind of geared a little bit more maybe towards the collector than the younger audiences, for the 3 3/4 inch line with the Rogue One tank. So can you talk a little bit about that? Like, how did it come about, and what kind of work have you been doing on it?
Sure, that's the Imperial assault tank seen in Rogue One. We're always looking at the movie and saying, wow, that we need to do this, we need to do that. And we saw that scene on Jeddah when the rebels attacked the tank. That's an awesome scene. That would make such a great new vehicle for our upcoming vintage line. This would be something that we could be really proud of. Put it in vintage black and silver packaging with the Kenner logo. And being from Kenner, there's nothing better than black and silver, you know, on our packages. We also took the opportunity, since it was vintage, we would take a look at how might we do it a little bit differently than what we do our normal mainline. We look at the detail. We try to add as much detail into the product, no matter what we're kind of skewing it towards. But if I'm working on the main line, a lot of the detail that would be on an interior would just be molded directly to the sidewalls. In this particular version, we thought, you know, the interior could be something that we would really enhance. So we broke out in a lot of different pieces. You have a lot of nice layering inside. So when you would open up the hatches, it was more than just a box. You know, everything was floating off the walls. You had a dimension to it that is more than we typically are able to do. And then for the first time, really on this particular vehicle, vintage also allowed us to have operational treads. So when you'll be able to push it on the ground, you'll actually have functional treads that, you know, operate. So, and then to top it off, it allows us to do a lot of our weathering that you might see on a Black Series vehicle. We want to be able to provide as close a facsimile on the toy as we see in the movie. So that's been really awesome. Actually, right next to us here, we have a representation of the vehicle as if it were to be an exploded view. And you can really see and appreciate all the different parts that go into making this model.
Nice.
It's a small little model. It's kind of brick-like, but we thought that, you know what, this opening interior would really let this vehicle shine more than what you might think if you just looked at the outside. So it's got the outside, it's got the inside, it hopefully covers the full fantasy.
Nice. Now, are you guys anywhere near announcing some kind of price point for the tank, do you know?
It's going to be in the region of kind of like 70, I think, kind of $60, $70, 70, around that mark.
Okay.
But suggested retail price to BD.
Okay. All right, so my final question, this is more maybe of a request than a question, but I noticed you guys did with the Last Jedi, you released this BB-8 Mega playset, and I couldn't just help notice that it's a big giant round ball, and it seems like it would just take a slight little bit of redecoing to turn it into a Death Star. So, you know, have you guys, you know, speaking of demanded vehicles and playsets, any thought of eventually down the road giving us maybe using that as a base for a Death Star playset?
You want to handle that?
We need to actually, we should take a look at, like, we put in a trash compactor with the Dinogo as a little homage. There are certain areas that feel very similar. You know, the First Order taking great inspiration from their Imperial forefathers. We should actually take a look at like what would need to change in terms of tooling swap outs to kind of make that into a Death Star. Has a lot of the wall features, but the Death Star is something that we're always asked for. If and when we ever do a Death Star, I'd like to do it properly. I'd like to do it at a very large scale. We'd have to work out how to actually make that for a good price and get it to fans in an effective channel, whether it's through retail or online or something else. So I'll tell you what, we'll go away and we'll have a look at it and kind of, Mark and I will have a coffee and go, what would we actually need to swap out to make that Death Star? What works, what needs to go, and all that kind of stuff. But no promises. But Death Star playset we know is probably up here on the list, probably there to Jabba's sail barge. It kind of like gets swapping out.
And just to say,
I'll keep my fingers crossed.
We have looked at Death Stars over the years and different ways that we might approach it, whether it be maybe out of paper goods versus plastic. So it's always been on our radar. So the nice thing about Star Wars is never say never. And we expect Star Wars to be around for another 40 years. So just stay tuned.
I hear the Death Star might make an appearance in the upcoming Han Solo movie, so that could be a movie opportunity, movie tie-in. Well, I want to thank you guys for taking the time to talk with me and the fans. I really appreciate you guys. You do a lot of hard work. I'm loving all the new products that's coming out and everything. And so, again,
Well, it's our pleasure. Thank you very much.
this is JC live from Hascon, and keep checking out the websites. And until next time, I will catch you later.